Welcome alumni and friends of UNB's Faculty of Arts. My name is Michelle McNeil. I'm the Executive Director of the Associated Alumni, and it is my great pleasure to be your host today. We join you today from unceded and unsurrendered ancestral homelands of Wolastoqiyik and Mi'kmaq people. The river that runs by our campus is Wolastoq, along which live Wolastoqiyik, the people of the beautiful and bountiful river. The lands of Wabanaki have been recognized in a series of peace and friendship treaties, which establish an ongoing relationship of peace, friendship, and mutual respect between equal nations. And we're so grateful to be here today on this beautiful campus, on this beautiful territory. And wherever you're joining us from, thank you, Walewan. We're very excited today to have a conversation about the Faculty of Arts, how it's changed over the last 50 years, how it's remained the same, and also maybe a little bit about where we expect to go in the future. We are pleased today to have 4 guests with us. We have a faculty member, 2 students, and an alumna joining us today. And I'll start by introducing Dr. Gary Waite, who's a professor and chair of the Departments of History and Classics, an author of several books, as well as dozens of scholarly articles and chapters. In 2020, he was elected as a Fellow of the Royal Society of Canada, Academy of Arts and Humanities, and in 2018, he received the inaugural Excellence in Research Award. His research and teaching interests encompass early modern European religion, culture, and idea formation, from the 16th century Reformation to the early Enlightenment, particularly the Dutch Republic in England. He has been particularly interested in the development of religious attitudes, prejudices, and toleration, beliefs about witchcraft and the devil, and popular culture in general. I've heard Gary speak before particularly about witchcraft and the devil, and it's always very interesting to join a lecture with you. Thank you for joining us today, Gary.
It's my pleasure entirely.
And representing our alumni today, we're pleased to welcome Marti-Lou Neil. Since graduating from UNB in 1969, she has had a UNB connection that's remained strong. While living in Rothesay, she hosted a cable television show focusing on the life and people of UNB St. John. And as president of the St. John Alumni Chapter, she also served on the Alumni Council. Her return to Fredericton in 1994 brought Marty Lou back to active involvement with UNB. She served as president of the UNB Associated Alumni, was a member of our Board of Governors, and also an alumni counselor, and then served as treasurer on Alumni Council. In 2006, Marty Lou also received the Alumni Award of Honor, which is one of our highest honors in the association. Thank you so much for joining us today, Marty Lou.
Delighted to be here.
And we're very pleased to have 2 students with us today. So Ben Barrett is, no longer a student, a very recent graduate from UNB's Faculty of Arts. He was a history and sociology double major with interests in studying military, European and American history, as well as terrorism, demography, social networks, and criminology. So quite interdisciplinary there. He came to UNB from St. George, New Brunswick, and before that lived in Kitchener, Ontario. He's the first university graduate in his immediate family and the only to study at UNB, so we're glad that you chose to come to us. And right now his next steps are still a little bit unknown due to a recent diagnosis that stifled his plans of pursuing a career in law enforcement, but he remains optimistic and excited for what the future will bring. And we're so happy you're with us today, Ben.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And next up, another one of our students, Arti Prajapati, is an international student from India, born and raised in Qatar though, and she'll be going into her 4th year at UNB this fall. She's honoring in psychology and also hoping to get accepted into the Certificate in Applied Behavior Analysis program. Her future goals are to attend graduate school for the Master's in Applied Behavior Analysis in order to work as a behavior analyst with children on the autism spectrum. She's currently working at the Learning Disabilities Association of New Brunswick as a summer intern through the Engaged UNB program and gaining work experience with working with children who have learning disabilities. Arti is also a volunteer with the Peer Support Center during the academic year. Thank you for joining us, Arti.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
So now that we know each other a little bit better, I thought we would get started with a conversation. And I'm wondering if you can start us off, Marty Lou, by talking a bit about your own reflections as your time as a student, and then the how and why of staying involved with UNB after you graduated.
Well, my own experiences on campus, of course, were very different than they are for many students today, because basically we lived on campus. I spent 4 years at what was then Lady Dunn Hall, now Joy Kidd, and you were really just on campus. You didn't leave campus very often, whereas today most seem to be on coming up and down. There were very few cars on campus when I was here. Now parking is one of the biggest issues. And I know when one of my daughters was here, she was on and off campus 4 and 5 times in one day. Her truck was always at risk of being towed away. So I think that gave a very different university experience to what students and what I noticed my children had when they went to university, which makes connecting, I think, as an alumni just a little bit different. I think often many of us who become involved, it's because someone asked. And that, I think, is the biggest thing. I know when I went to St. John, of course, the famous Eric Teed was there, and immediately found out when I'd moved through a friend and called and asked me to do things. And so you become involved, and once you're involved, you can become very involved. So coming back here was the same. I wasn't here very long and got a call to come to an alumni, the Women's Association meeting, and that just leads into all the other things one does. So I think asking people to be involved is probably one of your biggest draws to being an active alumni. So yes, being on campus is probably what draws you in, being involved, I think, in different groups on campus. And I think that's maybe harder today. I don't know that that's the truth. Would you students agree with that?
Yeah, there's still a draw of being involved and being a part of your faculty and hanging out in the lounge that's with your discipline and being involved in the student council and stuff like that. All these different events that, even though I personally lived off campus all 4 years and came in not too far. I'd walk or in the winter I would drive, but yeah, it's the same idea of being involved in general in the community and getting involved in any sort of event that you can is really what makes the difference for students in general, I think.
But you?
I have been pretty involved at UNB because first year I stayed on campus in Lady Dunn, actually. So that was a great experience right before they shut it down for renovations. And I think living on campus first year is such a crucial thing because that's where you make your first connections, you make your friend group, and I know I made my friend group that's even today, we're together in Lady Dunn. And I think that being on campus and being part of the orientation week activities, that's really where I felt like I was a part of UNB because there were just so many activities. They had casino night and the carnival and the quad, and those were the best moments in first year. And since then I have been a part of the work study program, so I've got to meet a bunch of people in the Faculty of Arts. I worked at the Hill, so I got to learn library resources. So volunteering and working is really what made me feel involved at UNB. So I feel like I've been pretty drawn in and a part of the UNB community.
Now, can I ask you both, how did you happen to choose UNB?
I actually originally applied, but it wasn't my first choice. I was dead set on going to the military academy, but it was just a last minute change of heart. I was getting ready to accept and go and be involved in the military community, and then I realized I just didn't want to do that. I've been to I was at the UNB campus, just passing through it really with a friend during the summer after I graduated high school, and I instantly fell in love with the campus. We all know it's such a gorgeous place, right? And I was like, I don't really want to give that up. I've only been here once or twice, but I know I want to be here. So that's when I decided. I was a month out from going back to Ontario, and I said, no, I don't really want to to leave. So, and like I said, I've just fallen more in love with the province and the campus. The longer you're here, the more you just want to stay. So
I can attest to that. I came in 1998 and never left. Arti?
Well, I joined as an international student, right? So I never got to see the campus before I got here. But I tried to Google pictures, and whatever popped up, the campus was really beautiful. I learned about UNB at a school fair where all these representatives of different universities were like talking about universities abroad. So I knew I wanted to come abroad after high school. So when I learned about UNB, I looked up their course catalog and what kind of programs they offer, and I was instantly interested in the university life here. So I applied, and the minute I got my acceptance in Jan, I didn't hesitate to answer back yes. And then I got to come here in August towards the end, and so instantly I was like, the longer you stay here, like he said, you fall in love with it. It really grew on me, because back home it's like a big city, so coming to Fredericton was kind of a big change. But the longer I stayed here, I'm like, I think I've become a small town girl now. So
It does. Now, when you were on campus and here, how much did you use the Harriet Irving Library? Was that a focus for you for studying, or?
I actually study better in my own room, so I didn't study at the Hill, but if I had to research for a paper maybe, or after class, if I didn't want to make the walk back to Lady Dunn, I would just stop at Hill, do my homework, and then head back home. And yeah, if I had to print stuff, obviously the library has printing services that are great for students. So yeah, overall I didn't spend that much time at Hill, but I think it's an important place for students. Like, people socialize there in the little Java Moose Cafe. I know they have the best hot chocolate on campus.
Really?
So
It's a good tip.
Who knew?
yeah.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. It wasn't a place I stayed very often. I put in more of the study hours away from the library, but I think the biggest draw for me was the social aspect of it in between classes. If you had to do something, with a few members of your class, or you just wanted to get together, see what was going on. I think I was there all the time, frequently, in and out throughout the day. Printing stuff off, like what Arti was saying, and getting coffee, or getting a snack between classes, something like that. But I definitely got to use it the way I wanted to. But I didn't put any of my own personal study time into the library. But yeah.
It's interesting how it's changed over the years then, because the library that used to be what its function is, but now with the commons and everything else, it's still really useful and helpful to students, but just in a bit of a different way.
Right.
I mean, and I think about the hours I logged in this little study carrel in the library, but.
Of course, it didn't open until my last year here.
Right.
So I didn't ever really frequent that library, and the old library, which was really unique and, I don't know, just had a real atmosphere, but you didn't go unless you needed to.
Yeah.
For research, or very rarely did you go. The student center, the student union, was always more the center for socialization and that sort of thing. So as far as socialization goes, how has COVID impacted you?
I haven't met new people in over a year. It's been hard, but I stay with my friend group on Graham Avenue, so it's lucky that we all live together in like a 5-bedroom, so we didn't feel like the isolation aspect of it. Like, obviously it was a little sad not being able to go out to like the movies or for food, the restaurants, but I think other people definitely had it harder who had to live alone.
How did you find studying through it?
Oh, Oof.
Academics.
Yeah, academics. Yeah, it was definitely a change, because the first time the campus shut down and went online, it was midway through the winter semester. And all of a sudden the professors didn't know how to handle this change, and it was a bit hectic, but after that the fall semester was a lot more well prepared. So I felt like it was as accommodating as the professors could make it, but it didn't compare to in-person classes for sure, because a lot of pressure, falls on you to watch the pre-recorded lectures, because a lot of professors did pre-recorded lectures instead of having live lectures during class time. So I mean, in a way that's nice, because it offers us flexibility to not have to attend live classes, but also self-control, and like you have to like set a deadline to yourself. Okay, I have to finish this lecture today, and like there's nobody really supervising you to finish that lecture, so it's on you.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit tricky, but after the fall semester, I got the hang of it, and winter semester was a little smoother. But I am excited to go back to in-person classes this fall because I got my class assignments. They're all on campus, and I cannot wait for it.
Oh, we can't wait for you to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah, really the same thing for me. Like going through half the winter semester and then all of a sudden everything's shut down.
Yeah.
And it was such a shock that of how unsupervised it actually was.
Right.
It was that. I think the biggest thing for me with that is like there's definitely a lot more soul searching and understanding who you are, because I always thought I was a very spontaneous, just kind of go, with the wind, but no, I'm actually a very, very regimented person, I found out.
Really?
Yeah. So being like online classes and the pre-recorded lectures were the biggest struggle for me because, like you say, finding and realizing how regimented I was is like, and trying to break the habit of trying to just do stuff and actually setting times and getting the pre-recorded lectures done. The live classes I had were amazing, as they would be in person. I think COVID, in a way, with the live lectures made me a little more outgoing, because there's outside of just having the class together, we could all just talk about our experiences at home, even though we were all different areas of the country or the province and the country, I guess. But the biggest thing was that we could all just sit and talk, and it was way more relaxed, I think, than a lot of previous. Yeah, that was the thing I found the most interesting too, is that we could just talk and all kind of joke about how annoying it was, and it all brought us closer together, I think, as well. It was a struggle for everybody, and we all accommodated each other and everybody's struggles together. And the professors, all of us were overwhelmed, but the professors made it definitely they made it the most accommodating that it could be. They made it a really safe space, really comfortable atmosphere. And I think given the circumstances, that was the best anybody could have asked for, honestly.
That's good. Now, I have to ask, we're discussing the arts faculty, so how did you choose the arts faculty? Was it predetermined? You knew what you wanted to do, or you went in just as an open experience?
No, it was predetermined for me. I knew I wanted to do psychology minus the science, so I could have done a bachelor's of science in psychology, but physics and chemistry are not my best friends. So that's why Bachelor of Arts was my go-to choice. And once I joined here, and like the amazing diverse options that were available, because I come from an Indian school, so we don't get as many choices. It's pretty set schedules, like you have to take the subject, you have no choice. So when I came here and they're like, yes, this is a long list, pick whatever you want. And I'm like, I'm not used to this. What do I do? Choices, yeah. So I was pretty overwhelmed in the beginning, but arts advising helped. I went to the advisors a couple of times in my first year, figured out how to fulfill my diversity requirements, the language and the science and all that. And that was definitely helpful. But yeah, I was pretty sure I wanted to join the arts faculty from the start.
Good.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to be a member of the arts faculty because I knew how diverse it was. Because I didn't have a set plan of what I wanted to do after university, other than like law enforcement in the military. But after, I knew if I would have gone into that, that would have come to an end. So I wanted to have something as well. And I thought about anthropology at first. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then I thought I was going to do political science and then psychology. And then I've always loved history. So I just took history courses on the side. And I said, well, it was towards the end of my second year, I said, well, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing in the history department. And I enjoy the professors, and I enjoy the camaraderie that the lounge brings and all the other history students have with each other. So I was like, I'm going to do this, but I also want to do something else that, I felt just doing history for what I wanted to do wouldn't have been enough. So I decided to do sociology because of, I've always been interested in criminology and terrorism and studying it anyway. But then, you know, obviously with the career path I wanted to do, it just kind of fit perfectly. And there was the same kind of situation. The profs were amazing. The students were also engaged and involved as they could be. And it just, like I say, it drew you more in, the same as what we were talking about earlier with the campus in general. Just once you find something, it holds on to you, and it wants you there, and it makes you give your all to studying and doing the best you can. And because it's obviously what's asked of you, but you come to understand that that's just what you want to do, and it just makes you want to do it that much more.
Good.
Gary, how has it been as a faculty member listening to the students reflect on their experience in the faculty, and particularly during COVID? Is there any relief there that some of the things we're saying?
Yeah, an incredible amount of relief. I've experienced the adjustment from the other side of the monitors, and I was really worried about how our students would fare in this. I know I personally suffered from the loss of human contact with my students. It's one of the things that I've really regretted over the year. But I was really worried about how are the students going to cope? And some of them, they have to be more self-disciplined. They can't just move from one class to the other.
Yeah.
They now have to work out their schedules, so they watch these. But the vast majority of our students did very well. I was really pleasantly surprised and impressed by our students. So, in fact, in one course that started live, an honor seminar, and then in March a year ago, we went online. Some of the students who were very quiet in-person seminars suddenly could talk and could participate. And I said, all they needed was this digital screen.
Right.
And so maybe there's some elements of this that can be beneficial. Certainly the technology to do this. We had no idea about the technology we use and how it could be used to bring students and people in from all over the world to have conversations. We've learned a lot. But no, I'm really impressed by the students. You guys have really done well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's been our experience in the Alumni Association as well. You know, we used to do all of our events in person, and now they're all in virtual. We look forward to the day when we can do both. But just having conversations with our alumni literally all over the world. More than 30 countries around the world this year have joined our events, and it's been a real eye-opener for us that's the way of the future. We'll also do in-person stuff, but we need to be able to draw people in from all over because, of course, UNBers are everywhere, as you know, Gary. So can you talk a little bit about how the Faculty of Arts is preparing students for today's society and the challenges ahead of them?
Yeah, and I will check my notes, otherwise I'll just blather on for forever. You know, I've had a 34-year career here. And I've really enjoyed it. And so my perspective, I can't speak as the Dean of Arts would speak about all the programs, so I'll speak to what I know. But an arts degree remains absolutely essential to society today, to living in society, to becoming good citizens, aware, knowledgeable citizens, and all of the various programs in arts. Whether it's the languages, whether it's psychology, sociology, anthropology, history, and so on, all look at human behavior from different perspectives. And that's why I think it's really good that students get various disciplines. We are all actors, we are all citizens of our society, of the world. And so what is it that you need to survive and prosper and contribute in the 21st century? Well, it's the same kind of things that you need. You need to be able to think, do research, there's history, the kind of skills that we do, that we help develop, analysis, figuring out fact from fiction, which seems to be very important now. Trying to figure out why people behave the way they do. You're bringing in skills, communication skills, thinking skills into whatever workplace you're in. And I see this in all avenues that our students go into, that they bring abilities, ideas, creativity to whatever you do, and that's why arts remains valuable. The challenges today aren't all that different from the challenges in the past. And again, I speak as a historian. So I look at the past and I see the present and I see this isn't all that different. So how do humans behave under these kinds of circumstances? I just talk about QAnon. I could go on and on. But you all know about QAnon, the strange beliefs. And I saw on the news the other day that something like 15% of Americans believe in QAnon now. And this has old anti-Semitic ideas, the ritual murder, the drinking of blood of children, all this stuff. Where does this come from? How can we confront something like that if we don't know the historical roots? Or if we can't look at a problem and do real research and know who's right and wrong. So that's just one of the things. Even COVID, having to deal with COVID. 1918, the Spanish influenza struck the world, just like COVID is. And the lessons that historians have brought up, done research and analysis. New Brunswick was one of the leaders in community control over Spanish flu and set up a body that we relied on, could step in very quickly to help us with COVID-19. The lessons learned 100 years ago are still relevant today. So anyway, it's the same challenge. We adapt. We do different pedagogies. We engage our students in different ways. We have travel study programs. We have the experiential learning, which I'll happily talk about later. All of this stuff, I mean, we adapt, but the problems that we face as living in this world are they're the same kind of problems. We need intelligent, committed, enthusiastic, creative people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You talked about a lot of different parts, departments within the faculty. Wondering if we can dive into that a little bit and you can talk about some of the interdisciplinary programs available. I know students can navigate with some fluidity, but sometimes there's intention in the interdisciplinary programs. So.
Yeah, the interdisciplinary programs, I mean, we've had them for many years, and they provide extremely valuable opportunities for students to take specialties and that sort of thing in gender and women's studies, international development studies, law and society, film studies. There's an interdisciplinary certificate program in ethics, in family violence issues, and publishing. And these interdisciplinary programs, they're not separate departments. These are created by faculty members in their own units who work with other members to create these opportunities for students. And I think these are really exciting opportunities to add on something. And we're always examining which of these are successful. Should we look at developing new ones? And a lot of that is based on student demand, right? And there's also concurrent degrees, as you know, faculties of science, computer science. There's a joint Bachelor of Applied Arts degree with the New Brunswick College of Craft and Design. There's minors in business that can be done. A major in science is possible, so you can do arts and science in that way as well. So we're exploring more. I mean, there's more that are in the works. So the kind of diversity that we try to make available to our students really reflects our goal to make any arts degree as interdisciplinary as possible. We try to be flexible. We have all sorts of opportunities that allow students to make adjustments and to say, hey, I'm really interested in this. What we want are to frame programs, specialties, minors, certificates that you guys are interested in, right? I mean, and faculty are interested too. And sometimes all it takes is, hey, there's this demand for this particular interdisciplinary approach. But we tend, and one of the really fun things about working in the Faculty of Arts, there are lots of 11 different departments, but opportunities to meet with and to talk to colleagues from those other disciplines. And those conversations can spark all sorts of new approaches and ideas and creativity in your own work. And that's one of the really exciting things about being in arts. It's not just one discipline.
Yeah.
It's people interacting from a variety of approaches, and that is really exciting and valuable for both students and for us.
As someone who did my degree not in the Faculty of Arts, I know that I appreciated all the disciplines available, though, because my minors were outside of my own faculty, and I did arts minors. And anytime I had, a chance in my schedule to add a sociology course or a philosophy course, I always jumped on it. Right, so it's a real service to all of the students at UNB too, which is one of the things that makes arts a little bit different from some of the faculties, right? You have your students that are enrolled in arts, but you have students from all kinds of faculties that are in your courses. So.
I've regularly taught a history of magic in the Middle Ages course, and I'd get about 40% or more students in that class from other faculties, and engineering students and computer science and so on, and they were great. It was really fun, yeah.
Yeah, probably fun for them too to be doing something different from us.
Yeah, very different.
That's right. So Gary, I'm wondering if we can talk now. You alluded to experiential education a little bit earlier, and I know it's always been a focus at UNB, but I know that your faculty is doing really exciting things right now. Can you talk a bit about some of the community partnerships that have been developed and how that's impacting students?
Well, this is one of the subjects that I'm really excited about, Michelle. I was in at the ground floor when we started the arts internship program over a dozen years ago now. And we began with one community partner, the Beaverbrook Art Gallery, and we had 2 student interns. That has grown dramatically from the 1 to about 50 community partners in that period of time. In many different sectors. And the Beaverbrook Art Gallery has always been one of our core, and they provide fabulous opportunities for our students in doing so many fascinating things. But now there are about 50 others, and these are from government offices, not-for-profit organizations, community organizations, service providers, museums, art galleries, of course, magazines, research organizations and archives, the New Brunswick Archives, the university archives, educational organizations, film production companies, law offices, urban learning farms, that's not one that I'm familiar with, but small businesses and more. And the hands-on experience where students get to apply what they're learning in the classrooms to real work life experience for an organization that also needs help to get specific projects done. It's been fabulous, and I've talked to many of these community organizations, and they tell me just how extraordinarily valuable these interns have been and how much they've added to their programs and experiences, that some tell me we couldn't have gotten this done without them.
Yeah.
And the students are so excited. They discover things about themselves and about what they're learning in the classroom, and that actually this does have real world implications for them. So many positive responses, feedback, and it's one of the things that really We will continue not just to support, but to grow. One of the ways it's grown in the last 3, I think, years, we managed to get federal and provincial funding to actually have paid internships. In other faculties, this is normal, right? Co-ops. In arts, not so much, especially for community partnerships, right? They don't have the money. But we now have paid internships, that especially in the summer. So we have students getting a summer job. That's also an internship, and they're really learning the skills in a particular field and organization. I'm really excited, obviously, about this, and I think it's been one of our great successes.
I would think one of the benefits of doing a summer job through an internship through the faculty would also be that it's not just a summer job. It's also, I would assume there's some reflective pieces that the students are responsible for, and
yeah, their final reports are intended to be self-reflective. They tell us what they've done, how that has changed, how they view themselves, the work that they're doing, the studies that they're pursuing. And these are, I really enjoy listening to them and evaluating them, simply because, wow, this is an extraordinary thing. So it's not just paid work. It's, and there's always a faculty supervisor at the university side, as well as the work supervisor, and the two sort of communicate and help the student from the two different perspectives, and the end product for the organization, but also the end product that's presented to us. Really shows that our students have really benefited from this. So we want to see this expand. I mean, ideally, every art student should have one of these, but not all students seem.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I worked with the Peas Plus project this past term, and what Gary's saying is absolutely true. The what you learn, and obviously the experience you get, is valuable too, but the camaraderie between other students and their organizations, and the reflections that they bring to everybody with these monthly meetings we all had, was absolutely amazing, right? We all cheered each other on. We genuinely wanted everybody to succeed and to witness that, and it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. Unfortunately, it was digital, but still, it was absolutely incredible. And like you say, you got to do valuable work for organizations that needed it, and you know, you get to contribute to something that's actually going to make a difference, and you just couldn't ask for more than that. It's, you know, it's something to put on a resume and something to that looks good in that manner, but it's honestly invaluable for the experiences you get and the memories you make and the people you meet. It's just extraordinary. It really, truly is.
Yeah. Arti, you're doing one now, are you?
No, it's not to the arts internship program. I wanted to do one, but they didn't have the the community partners that I was interested in. Like I wanted to work at GMO Helpline, but they're not hiring for the summer because so that was a bit of a bummer. But then the Engaged UNB program, they're the ones who were offering summer jobs too. So I applied to a bunch, and I got it at the non-profit, LDANB. So I'm working there, and I get to tutor kids with learning disabilities. And they're so adorable.
And it's also tied to what you want to do in the future.
Yeah, it is. So it's valuable experience for sure. And I'm thankful to UNB for these opportunities, because every summer they come out with these summer employment programs like SWILP or Engaged UNB. Last summer, there was, around July, they released some summer program. I don't know the exact name.
I think it was Catalyst,
Oh, yeah, Catalyst. Yeah, and that's when I got the job, because May and June I was like really nervous about not being employed for the summer and just sitting at home, going out of my mind, really. And when July came around and the Catalyst program, I got the email for it. I applied. I was like, hell, like I want to do it. And then I got paired with this small event management company in St. John. So I got to work as a research assistant from them remotely. So it was definitely a great experience.
Yeah, that points to the real focus on experiential education in general at UNB. And so the faculties are doing things, and there's some our career development office, so there's lots of opportunities for sure. Marty Lou, listening to this conversation, does it make you want to go back and do your arts degree again?
Yes, I think it's totally different than when I did mine, or even when my children did theirs. That's what I see is how much it's evolved to a very different method and model of doing it. What do you see as going forward? How will your courses change?
Again, I can't reflect on how other disciplines, departments are doing. I can speak as a historian, as chair of the history department. Our courses have changed dramatically in the 34 years I've been here. When I arrived, the traditional, the history program had its innovative side, and that was mostly in the honors program, where we really emphasized small seminars. These are still the cream of our program. 12 maximum students in a seminar, discussing, debating, working on research, presenting their papers, getting their colleagues to. That's been one of the successes that doesn't need a lot of change for us. But when I arrived, the tradition was you lecture to a large group of students. They take notes, they write exams, and do 1 or 2 papers. Yeah. There's still a lot of that, but we've all recognized that students need more engagement. And until COVID, we would typically, in a 3-hour-a-week lecture class, we'd still do 2 hours of lecturing, but more interactive. So not just straight lectures. And then I always have discussions. And to me, getting students to read primary sources, in my case, and then to meet on a Friday and talk amongst themselves about it. And I would act as a recorder on the board when we used to be able to do that. And was the most valuable part of my courses. But we have really also been adding a lot of the experiential learning into our courses in various ways, getting students into the archives, for example, to work with the real primary sources, the old papers, when possible, or digital programs, and getting students engaged in the research that the professors are doing. Is also something that we've increased significantly. And this year, of course, is, if you want, innovative or forced innovation in the use of technology in teaching. Some of that will remain. Being able to bring people in from all over into classes is, I'd done that before using Skype. Remember Skype? It was awkward, and you get one person in. Now you can have students in St. John and Fredericton in the same seminar. And we've gotten so used to it now, just in the course of 1 year, that I think that's going to remain. It might be a way to help St. John courses and students in Fredericton and so on, so that they can take courses across. So, there's all sorts of opportunities now have been opened up, and the future is going to be very interesting.
Fascinating how things are changing perhaps more quickly because of COVID.
Right.
Very quickly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like it or not.
I don't know if you have the statistic, but how many students would be enrolled now in the faculty?
Right now it's about, the numbers I got the other day, about 1,100 to 1,300 on average, about 200 grad students and about 1,100 undergrad on average. It goes up and down.
Sure.
The humanities suffered a big drop, not just in New Brunswick, not just in the Maritimes, but in student enrollments, I can speak to history, dropped by about 25% or more in 1 year, 2011, 2012. And I have our own statistics. It's just boom. And this is worldwide. I've talked to professors, to chairs of history departments in Europe and North America. This is a major concern. And part of it was the economic downturn, And government's starting to say everyone should be taking STEM disciplines, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Don't take those arts. Don't take those humanities. They're not useful. And so the message seemed to have worked. The result is we have fewer students taking humanities in particular. Social sciences have remained strong. There was some drop, but they've remained fairly strong. But it's the humanities that suffered. And what's happening, I read what's happening in the UK for humanities and students. Some universities are shutting down humanities programs and departments. Same in the United States. Some of this is COVID related. But some of it is administrations and government saying, this is our opportunity. Let's shut those programs down because they want everyone to go into science. But if history teaches us anything, yes, we need scientists. We desperately need scientists in all sorts of fields. But we also need people who can do the other side. And if COVID has taught us anything, we need arts and culture, because what have we been doing when we're alone in our homes? We've been consuming the arts. And we need historians to tell us why January 6th, for example. I mean, I've not seen so many historians on national television as I have since January 6th, because we need to figure out why this stuff is happening. And so I could go on and on, but I won't. but generally our enrollments have stabilized in arts and in history. In fact, they've started to climb back slowly. In terms of our students in courses, history numbers are now stabilized and slight increases, even in COVID. I was surprised to see that. But our history honors and majors numbers have gone up. And so we're getting back to the numbers that we were at before. So that's really encouraging for me personally.
I noticed, I just want to mention, you had brought up before about working with the other departments within the faculty. I've always felt that one of UNB's strengths is its size, that you can do that. So I was interested to hear that you found that facilitated moving ahead in that direction, because it was one of the reasons I chose the university, because it wasn't too big and it wasn't too small. I felt it was medium, and that was a long time ago. Yeah. But now I think this, as I watch, especially with your own children, and now my grandchildren are getting ready to go to university, you look at the large universities and how blessed we've been to have that. If you're in one department and you have a question, even if it were between different chemistry areas, you can run across or up. It's not that far.
No, and it's been one of the great benefits of being at UNB. I came from Ontario, downtown Ontario. Don't hold it against me. I regard myself, I'm a New Brunswicker now. I'm a Frederictonian. But I came from, larger university. And the opportunities here with the size that we have to engage with colleagues and all other, I've gotten to know faculty members in all the faculties and really appreciate them and the kind of conversations you can have with people in engineering and science and so on helps you to think differently about what you're doing. And it's the same with the students. I mean, the opportunities to be in classes all over the place, I think has been one of the great benefits. To be in, say, the University of Toronto, which has, 60,000 or more students. Wow. They don't have a faculty of arts, they have a faculty of arts and science, which is larger than UNB. Right? They don't get to know anyone outside their own hallway, outside their own department, never mind other faculties. And you have to, sometimes you have to take a bus to get from, or a subway to get from one class to another. Yeah. It's, and there's also cost of living and that sort of thing that's a factor, the major benefit. This is a pitch to come to UNB. This is a great community to live and work in, and the university is just, I think, the perfect size for us.
Sometimes we might wish there was a trolley bringing us from sort of the bottom of campus to the top of
Okay,
campus.
the hill.
But you don't need a subway. You just sometimes want one.
Well, the Italians have a funiculare.
Right,
It
yeah.
just goes right straight up. We need one of
We
those.
need it. We do.
Yeah. I've seen people try to bicycle up that hill. It's not pretty.
It's hard to watch.
One of the most exciting moments, a friend of mine was in phys ed at the time and doing her teaching component. So she's down here and then has to go up there. And her father got her like a moped. And that was the most exciting thing. Everybody wanted to be her friend in her class because she could zip up and down the hill.
Of course. I lived in Neil House for 4 years when I was doing my undergrad, and a lot of my friends were in, it was kinesiology by that time, but they were in kin doing their education. And there's only 10 minutes between class, right? So it was that
Yeah.
sort of, kin up to Marshall Davery, back down to kin. They'd always stop in Neil House just for a second to catch their breath.
It was a long road. Does that not work as well that we were speaking with being able to converse within faculty, but with the international students? How do you find that as a support for international students?
Yeah, the support for international students is, I think, one of the things that we still need to work on. There's a lot of supports that really do need to be added to what we do, and most of that kind of initiative has to come from the university as a whole, right? University level rather than faculty level. I can certainly, again, speak from experience that the members of my department have been doing extraordinary things to assist international students. In so many ways. The folks at the Milton Gregg Center for the Study of War and Society have been doing extraordinary work to assist refugees, especially from conflict zones, and helping them in very practical ways here, not just for students. And when there was the COVID outbreak at one of the residences here, again, my colleagues stepped up and raised money and arranged to help them in practical ways. But that's all sort of individual volunteerism. It's we have an international studies director, and there are some supports. I think one of the things that could really help is if we could hire more people as faculty from other places and a more diverse faculty. But I think that would really help international students to see themselves reflected in their professors and staff. Community organizations, international organizations, Fredericton is really, the changes in this community since I moved here have been incredible.
Tremendous.
In terms of internationalization. But we're also working very hard to assist other diverse groups to oppose racism. It's one of the things that historians have really been focused on, to support Indigenous students in particular by changing our curriculum. We've changed our Canadian history survey and many other courses from sort of the national history of Canada into Indigenous peoples and the settler state, and foregrounding Indigenous peoples. We've added new courses on the Black Atlantic world. We're expanding, even though the history department is smaller than it used to be, we're doing our best to cover more of the globe, of the world, in a variety of ways. So it's a challenge for us, and we need to put more resources into assisting international students. And there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So Arti, you came to us internationally. I don't know if you knew that I would turn this over, but just wondering from your own reflections, what are the things that you experienced when you came to UNB from that perspective, and in terms of support, and then to Gary's point, what do you think would help?
Well, his point about hiring more diverse faculty would be a good thing, because I know the engineering faculty has a lot of more Indian professors, and my friends mostly are in the engineering faculty, so I hear them talk about it. So yeah, diverse faculty members would be a great idea, but when I first came here, the ISAO definitely helped into the integration process, because Hillary had all these great events, international orientation, you got to meet people from other countries and people who are from the same country as you were, and you could really connect better, and that helped. And if there was like any immigration issues, Jason at the office also helped with that. So they were very accessible, and that definitely helped enter the university experience better. So that was definitely helpful. And faculty-wise too, the professors were very accommodating. Like when I did the Arts 1100 course, and I had Arthur, I forgot his last name.
James.
Yeah, he was a great professor, and we had to write a paper, and like in Indian schools, we don't like write papers the way you do here. So I was stumped. I was like, what? And then he saw my submission, and then he was like, come talk to me in my office. And I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get like a lecture on how to write a paper. But he was really nice. He asked me, if English was my first language, and, he read all my drafts from there on after, and he was really helpful. So I felt at ease, because initially I freaked out, but the professors were really nice.
That's great to hear, and thanks for the shout out for our friends and Jason and Hillary over in the ISAO. They do great work, I know.
Definitely.
So it's good to hear that it's had a good impact on you. So Ben, I know that you've been involved outside of the classroom as well at UNB and in the community. Can you talk a little bit about how your involvement in the community has affected your experience as a student?
It's really just strengthened my connection to the community, and really just made me value the work you do and the people you work with and who you meet and the connections you make. It's more than just numbers and statistics and doing a job. It's like we were saying earlier when I was talking about my internship, it's just helping and being involved and knowing that you're making a difference, and knowing that somebody potentially is relying on the work you're doing, and after the fact or in the immediate time. And I think too, with what we were speaking about earlier, being a medium-sized university and how involved the larger community of Fredericton is, really speaks to that as well, because even with working with what Arti was saying about the international student, struggles that they have. Obviously, all students would have the same sort of struggles in certain areas. So, and that doesn't change if you're an international student or if you're a local student or whatever. If you're even a grad student, all the professors here and all the staff are so accommodating and actually want to see you succeed. The biggest thing going into university is all the parents and the high school professor or the high school teachers, and they'd all be like, the profs aren't going to help you. You got to do it on your own. You got to step up, and you do. Obviously, taking that step and maturing in that manner, you do. But at the same time, that was the biggest surprise to me, is that of how accommodating the professors are and the staff are, and how, like you say, they want to see you succeed. And then when you go into the community, you reflect that.
Right.
Right. Gary was just saying he wants to see the staff reflect the students, but they do a tremendous job in having us reflect what UNB is. Because because of the size and the commitment that everybody has to each other and to the success of not just students and staff, but the community and now obviously the globe. So it's more than just, they say, doing a job or being involved in a volunteer event. It's so much more, and you can't ask for more than that.
As an alumna, it makes me very proud to hear a student talk like that. It makes me realize that as much as things have changed over the years, that DNA, that core thing that makes UNB really special is still there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What about you, Arti, in terms of getting involved? I know you're involved in a number of different ways around campus and the community. How does that strengthen any connection for you with UNB?
I mean, being involved, like he said, making a difference in people's lives and meeting new people, making those connections, and that's definitely how it affects me. Like, I did like 1 semester of volunteering with the UNB Spring program, which was like a gym and swim program at the YMCA with kids with special needs in the community. And I got to interact with them and spend my Sunday mornings like that. And it was a really great experience. And I would definitely want to do it again if I have time in my schedule. But that was a great experience. Around UNB itself, I've worked through the work-study program. I've worked at the library. I've worked over there even in the summer because I just loved working there so much, and I got to learn about library resources while I was working. So it was like a double benefit. It was like a win-win situation, really, because I was a new student here and I didn't know anything. And they have library presentations where they teach you how to use the resources, but actually working there definitely helped me learn it better. Then I worked with Tabitha last semester as the arts assistant. It was a long title, marketing assistant, and I got to be a part of the various the events that were held online, and I got to meet the dean, and that was a really good experience. And yeah, I've enjoyed my time here.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you say that you got to meet the dean. Dean of Arts, we have a fabulous dean of arts.
Definitely.
So I'm happy you were able to meet her.
Yeah.
So I could talk to the four of you all day, but the time goes by very quickly when we're chatting, and we have come up to our hour. So I thought that we could close by maybe having some reflections of all of you on what the best part of UNB has been for you. So we've got 4 completely different perspectives, and maybe we could start down here with Marty Lou on what the best part of UNB is to you.
Oh my gracious, one can almost divide it into the before and after. I think the connections you make, certainly, especially at a university this size, you do make friendships that are lifelong. We, of course, didn't benefit from experiential learning, or we didn't even talk to our profs very much until, if you did get to the seminar point in any particular area, you did. But for the most part, I can say I didn't have any great relationship with any of my profs when I was there. So I think that's a big change. But I think, yes, the UNB family remains very strong if you involve yourself with the university. I think it's a two-way street. Yeah. And I think students today as well need to be somehow told that during Frosh Week, that you will get out of your experience more than education what you put into it. And I think our students here today have certainly shown us that they've been involved and engaged with the university. So, but certainly since graduation, UNB's given me a tremendous opportunity to be involved, and I've always believed strongly in volunteerism. And there was a point in time when it was a full-time volunteer job for 5 or 6 years. But yeah, it was a tremendous university experience.
Mm-hmm.
We're grateful to you and the association for saying yes every time we ask. So thank you again for being here today.
I haven't learned to say no yet.
That's right. Ben, how about you?
I think just saying, like, the UNB family is what's going to be, it's the hardest for me to leave.
Yeah.
And to say that I've graduated, obviously I'm proud of what I've accomplished, but you know, you can't stay here forever. I wish you could, you know. And I think that on its own says something about the atmosphere here, the staff, the faculty, you know, all the support that we have, you know, to you know, you can, like I say, talk to your profs, you can have great relationships with them, and you know, they support everything you do, and the students are the same way. You know, you can literally just talk and connect with everybody here. And, you know, just, like I say, just by having those conversations, you're already engaged with the community, you're already a part of the UNB family more than you ever realized, right? So nowadays, I think it's hard not to be involved in that, and it's hard to, you know, leave that as well, right? So I think the alumni, the UNB alumni and its association is just going to keep growing and keep evolving, as the university will. You know, it's obviously the best experience of my life, and you know, you just don't want it to end, but you know.
Yeah,
it
not
does.
everyone gets to stay here for their whole life. Like
No.
But you know, I know that you're sad about leaving, but I'll do my very best to keep you connected. So
Absolutely.
all you have to do is
Appreciate
say
that.
yes when we reach out.
Absolutely.
How about you, Arti?
Yeah, like Ben said, I am dreading leaving. Like, I have another year left, and if I get into the certificate program, I'm going to drag another year here at UNB because I am not ready to leave.
Yeah.
It's been such a great experience, and I guess the best part of UNB has been the friends I've made here, because I, like, coming into a new country, like, not knowing anybody, it was hard. And instantly, like, within orientation week, I had, like, a whole friend group, and I was like, did not expect that, because making friends is really hard for me, introvert. So yeah, the friends I made, definitely, like, they're lifelong. I still live with them, and I don't know what I'd do without them. So
Yeah,
that's
you'll
been
definitely stay connected to them. All
Yeah.
my best friends from Neil House are still my best friends today. So,
Right?
Yeah, yeah. And Gary, you have a bit of a different perspective on it.
Bit of a different
Yeah.
perspective, but it's very similar. I'd have to say, I mean, living with in a community of scholars, which includes students, has been one of the greatest joys of working here. But I have to say, my greatest joy is working with students. I can tell you, I have had every year students that have inspired me and excited me, whose passion and creativity and approaches astound me. That I've been thrilled. I've been inspired. They've shaped my research. It's my greatest pleasure, and to have engaged, interested students. Not all of them are like that, but you know, it's just been incredible. And anyone who says that UNB doesn't get the same quality students as big universities, it's just false. It's I've had so many students who've just kept me going, and that's been my greatest joy.
Yep. Well, I think the common thread there is the community, the family feeling, the people.
Yeah.
Really, that's what makes UNB special.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much to all of you for joining us today. It has been a perfectly lovely way to spend the last hour. And to our alumni who joined us, I hope that you enjoyed the conversation and hearing a little bit about the Faculty of Arts. And, you know, if there was a question that you would have asked had you been able to be here in person, please do send that to me at alumni@unb.ca. If I can answer it, I will. And if not, I'll reach out to my colleagues in arts to get an answer. We do hope that someday, very soon, we can welcome you back to campus. I know many of you would love to walk the halls over in Tilly and Carleton again, maybe visit the Harriet Irving Library or another favorite haunt on campus. And the day's coming soon, and I can't wait to welcome you back to our campus. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a great day.